So we want to have those
Wow.
true species, old heirloom echinacea. The other thing about echinacea is there was a really fascinating study that was done by a group of European universities on echinacea, and they determined that it can help support you and shorten the duration of a cold and things when you're under attack. And that echinacea that was used in that study was our echinacea.
Okay.
Our regenerative organic farm, where we're selectively hand harvesting our echinacea,
Yeah.
goes directly into one of our production facilities that's less than an hour away. Everything that's harvested is in production the exact same day. So it'd be like you walking out to your backyard and grabbing, something out of your, home garden.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're getting more nutrients from that than, going to the grocery store and picking something that it was harvested in Mexico 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Welcome back to the Healthy Habit Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dayon of Healthy Habit Medical Center. And guys, look who's back. We've got Carrie G. Pattison, functional medicine practitioner with training in acupuncture, herbalism, homeopathy, and midwifery. Carrie's a graduate of the National University of Natural Medicine's Classical Chinese Medicine program, and she's currently pursuing a doctorate in Integrative Healthcare and serves as an education initiatives manager for natural factors, which can be the topic of discussion today in our part 1 of 2 interview here in supporting immune health heading into the fall season. And this will air, you'll be hearing this probably beginning or mid-November, probably beginning of November.
Yeah.
We'll be well into the fall season. Carrie, welcome back.
Hi, as always, I'm so excited to be here. We have so much fun together.
Today I'm excited because we're talking about anti-V, which I've already started giving out to our patients here as they come for like a high-dose vitamin C IV with us here at the clinic, or like an NAC IV or glutathione. I've been mentioning the anti-V formula for them, and I'm going to be starting to take it myself. So let's dive right in. What should people look for in a formula to support their immune system?
Yeah, I am looking for something that's not only going to be, I mean, we're all living in a world right now where we want to be practical with our finances, but also find something that's going to work, right? Efficacy is key. So I love things when I can like double duty them, they're going to be helpful for this and this at the same time. And that's why I love anti-V, is that it's a formula that you can take every day as that kind of just general basic, daily immune support. But then it's one that as soon as you feel like, oops, you can start hitting it really heavy to like stave off what, any sort of pathogen that might be attacking you. So I like, having those double duty things. And it's interesting because I've had so many people in the last month or two that have reached out about very, very, interesting and what I would say, uncommon situations that they're addressing and dealing with. And I'm just consistently like, well, anti-V. And I love that this is something that is, even though it is a very powerful and impactful formula, like you're going to, as you've experienced, see a difference when you use it, when you need it. It's also something that is so gentle. Like I even know that, for you mentioned midwifery. So like, I'm very focused on, what's happening with women during, childbearing years. And this is a formula that first and second trimester, absolutely fine for them to utilize. It's something that our scientific researchers, and so anti-V is a formula that has, I think we're up to over $20 million worth of clinical and laboratory research on it. Wow. And over the course of 15 years that this was studied. And I talked to one of the main developers and researchers, and it's amazing for me to hear back. This is a formula that we know we've we can feel comfortable and safe even with like autoimmune situations. And that is a very unique thing when it comes to the immune system, because we don't want to stimulate the immune system, but we want to support it. And that's really what I think about anti-V is like everyday supportive as a supportive tool. But man, it's going to jump into action when you need it. And that's just following the directions on the bottle and shifting how you take it. It's going to shift its focus for you.
Amazing. So let's dive into Echinamide. I mean, since we've launched the Healthy Habit podcast, we haven't gone deep enough yet on Echinacea as a phenomenal herb. And you can see on the description here, naturalfactors.com, that Echinacea is the star of the show here on our Factors farm. So tell us about Echinacea.
Yeah, so Echinacea is a plant that I feel as an herbalist is completely disrespected here in the United States, mainly because people talk about it in ways that it really isn't, and or they are experiencing lower quality echinacea. But when we talk about the history of herbalism in the United States, echinacea is our plant, right? So it's grown and propagated everywhere around the world, but if we look at the historical growing areas of it, First Nations, and their medicinal uses, it was only the continental United States and a tiny little bit of southern Canada where this plant actually originated from. Ironically, that southern part of Canada is where our farms are. So our echinacea there is true species, meaning that, you know, people can go to their garden center and buy beautiful echinacea to put in their garden. It probably doesn't have any medicine left in it. It's been kind of, you know, bred out of it. So we want to have those true species, old heirloom echinacea. The other thing about echinacea is there was a really fascinating study that was done by a group of European universities on echinacea. And they determined that it can help support you and shorten the duration of a cold and, you know, things when you're under attack. And that echinacea that was used in that study was our echinacea.
Okay.
I know, it was like so cool.
Yeah.
And so what it was it's you want to look for a fresh press. There are certain bioactive constituents in echinacea that will disappear when things have been dried. And so when you see echinacea sitting on the shelf at your local health food store, that's one of the things that you can ask, like, is this a fresh echinacea or a dried echinacea? Because dried echinacea, though it is still wonderful, like I'm not, you know, disregarding it at all. There are some active constituents that disappear when you dry the plant. And those ones, saccharic acid being an example of this. These are the reasons why echinamide is this specific Echinacea purpurea plant product that we know. It still has these active constituents that are the ones that research shows us are the ones that are useful when we are under an immune attack.
Amazing.
And that was a big, long description of why echinamide. But I mean, like, I just go back to like these beautiful fields where we are selectively hand harvesting. I mean, these flower heads are picked at their peak. And it's like maybe underneath the full moon, because that's when they're, you know, so like science comes into play. Like we're testing the plant. Is it ready to be harvested? And you know, you like these photos here, right? You get that beautiful, that juicy cone, like they're called cone flower for a reason. Okay. You get that juicy cone on there, and that's where so much of the medicine is. And so we want to be harvesting right at that peak. We want to have that fresh press. And this is one of the things I love about Natural Factors. We manufacture everything ourselves. So our regenerative organic farm, where we are selectively hand harvesting our echinacea, goes directly into one of our production facilities that's less than an hour away. Everything that's harvested is in production the exact same day. So it'd be like you walking out to your backyard and grabbing, you know, something out of your, you know, home garden. Yeah. And knowing that you're getting more nutrients from that than, you know, going to the grocery store and picking something that may, you know, it was harvested in Mexico 3 weeks ago.
Wow. And it looks like we're using both the flower and the
And
root.
the root.
Fascinating. And again,
Many.
good luck finding an echinacea that's triple standardized, patented, and processed organically.
And
So,
has the clinical research behind it. I
right.
mean, that's the thing. Like, we actually have the research to show. So anybody can Google. So if you're listening right now and you're like, ooh, I want to see the research, Google Echinamide,
Okay.
and you will see studies that will pop up specifically.
And that's spelled right there on the bottle. Echinamide, like echinacea, and then just add amide there at the end. And then there's also lomatium, astragalus, reishi mushrooms in this formula
I
as well. Why'd you
know.
choose to include that
Oh,
single mushroom in there?
well, reishi is known as the mushroom of immortality.
Hmm. There you
So I
go.
think that says a
That's enough
lot,
reason.
right? So that's how we talk about it in Chinese medicine, but it's very, very ripe with beta glucans. And beta glucans are the compound, the bioactive mushrooms that have really been studied for their role in supporting immune health. But not only that, like healthy cell growth and turnover. And when we're under attack from pathogens, our cells, like, part of the process is our cells say, whoa, I've been invaded by a pirate, right? There's
Yeah.
like something in here that I'm not supposed to be, and it dies. And if we are constantly under attack and our cells are just dying off and we don't have the good healthy cell growth and turnover,
Yeah.
we're aging faster. Our immune system's not able to support us in the way. So this is where we see things around inflammation and stuff like that. So some of the latest research into reishi is that it activates natural killer and Th1 cells while also down regulating inflammatory cytokines in lung cells. So that's a really, that's like a pretty in-depth way of saying, like, it's doing what you want it to do in the
Yeah.
body, right? I think we also tend to forget the role of the liver in the immune
Mm.
system, and we should actually remind me of this. We should
Hmm.
have an entire podcast on the liver at some point
Yes.
in time. I think it's like the forgotten organ. We all think about it and we're like,
Yeah.
ooh, the liver, but we forget about all of the things that it does.
Yep.
And reishi is just absolutely known, such a wonderful herb to help support liver health.
And so I pulled up even the soft gel version of this product per
Mm-hmm.
soft gel, the exact same proprietary blend that you find
Yes.
in the liquid tincture version as well. Is it more of personal preference? I personally like the
It's
liquids better, but what do
Yeah,
you
I think
think?
it's a personal preference. I agree with you. I always go with a liquid because I know
Okay.
it's absorbing into our bloodstream at a more rapid rate. But it is a personal preference, right? And you mentioned the 5 ingredients in there, and something I want to say is, you could go out and find herbal formulas on the shelf that maybe have similar ingredients. It's not necessarily about the ingredients, though I think the ingredients are everything.
Right.
It goes back to the science and the research on this formula, and it's about the proprietary amounts of each ingredient. So this formulation was created in the early 90s, and it was formulated specifically for a pretty severe situation that was happening in West Africa that had
Mm.
just kind of popped out at that point in time. And in the lab, it was like, let's figure out the perfect ratio that then the body can utilize to, like, get rid of those pirates that like to inject themselves
Yeah.
into the cell. That's how I talk to people about it. I was like, these pirates are going to go in and they're going to take over your body. Like,
Right.
you don't want that.
Nope. Absolutely. So again, that's the anti-V liquid,
Mhm.
and I want to hear your thoughts on why is this different from other immune products? It's a unique blend, definitely those five specific ones, but what else?
Yes.
Tell us about the key takeaway then on the anti-V, how it's unique.
I think it's my favorite thing about it is that, and I really don't see other things where it's something that you can take every day,
Okay.
as a supportive tool to really build your body up. But then also be able to turn and utilize it, aggressive dosing. So when somebody is like, oh no, something's happening, this is
Right.
where we are in our natural world. We're very different than the Western world. And I know you probably spend time with your patients reminding them, like, we have to be aggressive. Like, uh, pathogenic bacteria can completely replicate themselves every like 20 to 30 minutes.
Right.
So if you think about, somebody sneezed on you, it gets in you, you have one germ every 20 minutes that's replicating, like doubling. Like that's why, within a day or two, we're like, oh no. So as soon as somebody's feeling like something, I usually say we've got the larger size, like the 3.4 ounce of the anti-V. If you feel something coming on, I literally want that bottle to be gone in a day or two, because every time you ingest it, it's cutting down on the
Right.
pathogen's ability to replicate themselves. And so don't be afraid to hit it hard, I
Right.
guess.
Be aggressive. Be
Be
aggressive.
aggressive. Be
So,
aggressive.
right.
Sorry. I was
That's
not
what
a
I thought of. I
cheerleader.
thought of
I
that.
was not a cheerleader, but
No.
I got to bring a little bit of that.
So I was actually you answered a question I was gonna ask you then, because some herbalists say echinacea should only be taken when you're already sick and under the weather,
Mm-hmm.
but you can take this product preventatively then as well, just
I
while we're in
think
the
that,
fall winter.
yeah, that's one of the things, like I said, like echinacea is so misunderstood and disrespected.
Yeah.
And I would not recommend just picking an echinacea tincture up off the shelf and taking it daily unless
Okay.
it is echinamide, because it is that fresh press with the saccharic acid and the things that we know it is okay to take on a daily
Wow.
basis. But
That's huge.
it's not just about single herbs. And I think, we've talked about this in the past too, right? Herbs have multiple personalities, and they're going to shift and change what they do depending upon the group of friends that they're with. So, I am not a fan of echinacea as a single herb. It
Okay.
wants to be with its friends. It wants to say, hey, here's our goal. This is what we're trying to do. And in this situation, not only is it echinamide that has all that clinical research, but it's in with, reishi is an herb that we, and the licorice in there as well. These are herbs that we know are tonics, right? You can take them every day for the rest of your life
Yeah.
and be fine. So it is about the combination and the synergistic ratio that is the key.
And one herb that has not been included in the anti-V formula is the oregano. So tell us
Mm.
about the natural factors oil of oregano. I feel like that would be a perfect pair with the
Oh,
anti-V.
when you feel like something's coming on, boom, hit it up, right? Plants know what they're doing. And I always think, like, in my garden, I have oregano, I have multiple different herbs out there, and I go out and sometimes I'll look and see, like, what plants are the bugs eating, and they never touch the oregano.
Really?
Right. Like, I have deer come through, and this is an interesting anecdotal story, but I up at my cabin, I also have a big herb farm up there as well, and all my neighbors do too. And we, like, the deer will eat literally everything, but they won't touch the herbs.
Wow.
And they definitely won't touch the oregano, even if they're like, ooh, mint, ooh, thyme, like
Hmm.
whatever it is. They will not touch the oregano. And there was one year, 5, 6 years ago, where there was an outbreak of, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting what the name of it is, but where they were all losing their fur.
Wow.
It was like it was essentially like they had like a fungal issue on them. And that summer, all of us got together. We're like, does anybody have any herbs left? Like, they came through and literally devoured. And then when the new babies were born the next spring, no issues at
Nothing.
all. And they cleared out our oregano oil. And, like, nature knows what they're doing. So that's that idea of paying attention. Like, the bees, oregano, oh, they love it. When my oregano is flowering, the honeybees cannot stay away. Like, it's amazing to think about a plant that has such ability to really activate. It's going to be supportive for our body, but I really think oregano for me is more of like the big hammer approach. Like something's happening. So I always think about where it grows. Like where our oregano is coming from is the Mediterranean. And that's, where oregano historically grew up on the hillsides in the
Right.
Mediterranean. Who else came from the Mediterranean? The Spartans, right?
Yeah.
And what did the Spartan warriors do? Like they literally like killed and raised everything in their path. So that's how I think about oregano. When we are in a situation where we're like, we need everything destroyed,
Right.
here's the way to grab it. And the oil, I love that you showed the oil there because, we think about, hey, this might be great internally, but I use the oil all the time. I put drops of it in any of my household cleaners.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm spraying my kitchen counter after I'm, cooking chicken or something, like
Right.
I want to have that there. I have people that it's really great. You can put it in your shampoo if you're dealing with um, flaky scalp, because that's a fungal issue. Think about fungus, right?
Yeah.
Toes, great for, dropping onto your toenails if you're having a fungal issue externally. This would be a wonderful thing. What I want to tell people is that you need to look for the carvacrol amount, just like we were talking about with the anti-V, making sure it has those, constituents that
Yes.
are active. The carvacrol is the secret in oregano. This is the thing that has been researched and has been shown to be like the reason why it's such a powerful tool. And so plants, Mother Nature provides us roughly around 80%.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a really good, organic, wild crafted, like grown in the woods, in the Mediterranean kind of a thing, you're going to find that 80% carvacrol. So, this is a way that you can be efficient with your money and know that you're getting efficacy. If you see something that is significantly less than 80%, like significantly less,
Yes.
you can know the company's watering down the
Okay.
medicine. I've also seen one that was like over 90%. And then I looked at it and I knew that they were
Right.
spiking it with a synthetic. And that's also like, that's like toxic, right?
Right. I was going to say, like, you don't want a 90+%
No.
carvacrol content.
That is toxic. That is going to be damaging to your body. And this is where there's a running joke from one of my favorite herbalists of all time. Shout out Rosemary Gladstar. I love you. She has a joke where it's like the only thing herbalists can agree on is to not use aluminum pots.
Uh-huh.
And what that means is that every herbalist is going to have a different opinion, right?
Okay, there you go.
But at the end of the day, we're all supporting each other and helping you out.
Yeah.
And for oregano, I feel like it's a tool to be used aggressively for a very short period of time, unless you're using it externally, right? But if you're taking it internally when you're like, oh no, something's happening, so you're like anti-V and you're stacking on the oregano oil, I would not utilize this for more than I think my max would be like 2 weeks. I don't know what your opinion is on this.
I agree. I mean, the taste itself tells you how to use it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't look at even the serving size is in four drops. You'll get 187 servings per one of these, tincture bottles here, one of these 2 ounce or 1 ounce bottles. It's wild crafted oregano, and you don't need much. Like that's why it's only 4. It's powerful. I mean, good luck trying to take 8, 10, 16 drops of that. Your mouth you'll be breathing fire out. So
I mean, how
that's a good. Plants will kind of tell you if you can't take too much of it, right? So that's a good way to take it. I completely agree. It's a powerful herb. We do have a soft gel version available as well, just like the anti-V. So again, I think it's more powerful. I think the dollar goes even further if you get the liquid, because you can use it in personal care products as well, and as a household cleaners and internally.
Absolutely. And you can you don't have to just put those 4 drops directly in your mouth. Though people for oral health, sometimes they'll be like 1 drop, swish it around, right?
Yeah.
But you can put it in water. I have people that mix it into some sort of healthy fat. They're their olive oil, they'll mix it a little bit more. Though ours is already cut in organic cold press extra virgin olive oil. You can cut it even more in a tablespoon to get it down and not have that intense intensity.
Right. Folks, you're listening to our part 1 of 2 discussion with Carrie G. Pattison, talking supporting immune health heading into the fall/winter months. You'll be hearing this probably mid-November, beginning of November. So we've covered anti-V, oil of oregano with the minimum 80% carvacrol, and maybe we can introduce that LBS formula then. Educate me on this one. I'm not sure which one this one is. Tell me about this.
This is the lung, bronchial, and sinus
Oh, got it.
formula.
Which I've given to people. So
yes,
good.
and it's another one that like I actually took it this morning. I woke up and I don't know if it was because my windows are now closed for the fall season or, seasonal changes. It's amazing how many people have allergies that come with seasonal changes, right? Even if it's like dead of winter, all of a sudden the weather changes and they're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I just woke up with, I don't have allergy issues, but I had a weird cough, and I do know I was working in the chicken coop yesterday.
Really?
So who knows what got into my lungs, and my lungs were trying to actively get rid of it. And I was like, lung, bronchial, and sinus, here I come.
Right.
It's great. Also, it's something that I'm suggesting to people going into any season. If you are worried about mold around your house or forest fires or pollutants, if you know your lungs, bronchioles, and sinuses are going to be under attack from anything, I think we should definitely talk a little bit more about this in the next segment, so we can teach people with the ingredients that are in here. But I love that it's a combination of some really, really important plants. We've just talked about how plants are so important for the lungs and the immune system, but then we have some nutrients in here like bromelain and NAC, and listeners have probably heard of NAC.
Definitely.
Within the last couple of years. So I love that it's just like everything is in there.
That's a perfect kind of sneak peek. We'll pick up part 2 then with this lung, bronchial, sinus formula, because that NAC in there that can help pull that mucus and phlegm out. So this first one's kind of more antiviral, antibacterial support, actually fighting the pathogens.
Yeah.
And part 2, we'll start with the LBS formula, but then we'll go into more of stress. Because that's a clear way that the immune system gets dampened. And we've been dealing with people with autoimmune Hashimoto's, autoimmune hypothyroidism, and nothing seems to work to lower those antibodies that are attacking the thyroid like lowering stress does. So key regulator for 100%. Immune system health is lowering stress. So thank you, Carrie, for this part 1, and we will pick right back up on part 2. Appreciate your time.
All right.